Detroit, a city of resilience, a city of complex composition, a city of tenacity, of perseverance, of game changers. Against the odds, these Detroiters' substantial contributions remain consistent through the city's ups and downs. How did they do it? Why do they remain committed to the city when others left? They answer these questions and more on Game Changers. Black men in Detroit who have stayed rooted in the community pre, during, and post-bankruptcy.
The events that shaped my life was number one, my mother got pregnant with me at the age of 16, and she gave birth to me at the age of 17. She didn't graduate high school, and so, we lived house to house and shelter, and, in a sense, she was homeless. So I remember her telling me that, and I remember experiencing the house to house. My father, he disciplined me. That discipline followed me throughout my life. Growing up on the northwest side of Detroit, I really didn't see, a lot of positive images, and I knew something was wrong about those negative images that I saw all the time. And just going to college, I was able to gain a wealth of knowledge. Earning my 4-year degree really taught me a lot that I have the value in this work.
Seeing my dad hire a lot of young people off the street to work in his architecture firm, I didn't realize that was not the norm, to give young people a chance to learn a skill set and to empower them with confidence, teach them how to respect themselves and respect others. I would say another event was probably, I got a scholarship in high school. I was at Cass Tech. Cass Tech was a good school, but I never thought of myself as a good student. And I was in a program called Rising Up and Bound. And in that program, they gave scholarships to their students to go to Cranbrook. And I was one of those students who received it in 10th grade. So that was very, very impactful. It showed me that, the world is there for us to dive into and to make an impact. So a lot of what I saw my dad do in hiring folks off the streets and giving them skill sets and confidence, I took that with me and that helped me be successful at a prep school like that.
The time I went into the foster care system as a kid, been in and out of the foster care system since I was 6 years old. Over 7 or 8 placements, different families, whatnot. And I eventually went home at the age of 14, lived on my own since I was 15 after that. And even experienced bouts of homelessness. But I think that's probably the most significant event that actually shaped my life.
Well, I recently accepted the appointment to Black Family Development as Chief Innovation Officer. So I've been on board now for about 4 weeks exactly. I served the last 3.5 years as Assistant Wayne County Executive. For 12 years prior to that, I served as Executive Director for the NAACP Detroit branch. I was a lobbyist in Lansing for quite a few years. I literally commuted back and forth from Detroit to Lansing for about 8 years. I worked on both political staff, and I worked as a lobbyist for the phone company, and I worked for Detroit Public Schools as a lobbyist. And believe it or not, prior to that, I was a firefighter with the city of Detroit for about 12 years. So I guess I'm pretty typical of a brother who can't keep a job.
Some of the events that shaped my life were the fact that I grew up in a very strong household with both my parents. My father, made sacrifices to be there for me in my life and in my growing up and development. And you don't appreciate that until after you have kids. And now that I'm a father, I really appreciate the fact that not only was my mother, who's a very strong Black woman, but my father was also engaged in my life growing up. Going to college and majoring in engineering has opened tremendous doors for me. It's made me successful from a professional standpoint, and definitely appreciate that. That's been a big contributor to my life and the work that I do today, as well as when I went to school for undergraduate, I went to the University of Maryland, Baltimore County, where I was in a special program called the Meyerhoff Scholarship Program, which is known to promote African American, at that time, but now it's an inclusive program, students to receive terminal degrees in STEM fields: science, technology, and general mathematics.
I've three specific that have happened throughout my life. One, I was bullied as a youth. Say two, when I was a student athlete attending Wayne State University, I was a victim of a violent crime, and now having my dad in my life. When I was younger, I used to get teased for being so dark, and I would go to school, and kids would have all types of jokes to share. Many of them, I kind of laugh about myself now that I'm older, but it really impacted me and set me on a path where I had to really figure out who I was and gain some confidence over the years. The violent crime, at an off-campus party on September 27th of 1997, I was shot in the face at point blank range. And that, of course, just the event in itself was impactful. But I think the thing that came out of it was even more so, which was recognizing that because of my actions, someone felt as if this world would be a much better place without me in it. And that was a tough pill to swallow. And however, it did put me in a position where I was able to reflect and recognize what I really wanted to do and be in this world. And so I just began to do that work.
Well, just the fact that I was born in a household without a father, so that fatherlessness kind of dictated what it is I do today.
When I was younger, I had a wonderful opportunity to be enrolled in Cass Tech High School. And it was my guidance counselor in my middle school who made that happen. I knew very little about Cass Tech, but according to her, I had great grades. And so I was enrolled. And that had a huge impact on my educational life. Because right before then, my father was murdered when I was 14. And so I was very angry, upset, and didn't know how to really channel my anger. So went to California for the summer, found out that I was eligible to go to Cass Tech. And that same year, I came out as a young gay teenager. So that was a huge moment
for me. I'm here primarily because I feel like I've taken a lot from the city. I've taken a whole lot from the city in my years of being here. And I think that everybody has an obligation to give something back. I mean, we take a lot from where we grow up at. And I think that everybody should give a little bit back. And so that's what I'm doing now. I feel like I'm giving back to the city. I'm giving back to the communities that I work in. And I feel like it's an obligation. I feel like we all should do it.
It's an opportunity, and every leader, every person who becomes a leader, that leader took an opportunity. And Detroit, is where I was born and raised. It's a place where, growing up, I didn't see success everywhere. I saw a lot of life, I saw a lot of drugs, a lot of crime, a lot of violence. And so it's a place and an opportunity where I get to create what I didn't see. And I get to create somebody who I didn't see, somebody that I wish I could have seen.
Yvonne Rush, she told me I had to leave the city. Upon graduating from high school, I couldn't go to a Michigan school because she knew a lot of my running buddies was up to no good. So I went to a historically black college university in Arkansas, University of Arkansas Pine Bluff, and I eventually transferred to North Carolina A&T, became a mechanical engineer, did a master's in industrial technology, lived in Virginia and DC, did a lot of nuclear defense work, and came back here for law school. So I've been to several places.
But I saw Detroit was in dire straits when I was in Washington, D.C., and that was a major concern. I had nieces and nephews here, and my sister would call me and tell me to talk to my nephews about certain things, and my nieces, older nieces, about certain things. So I knew there was an issue. There's no male figure in the house. I had a full ride to law school here at Wayne State University, and decided to take that opportunity to come home. That was telling me something. It was a pulling. It was a calling to tell me to come back home and make a difference while I'm here.
I have a love affair with the city. I always have. I grew up down the street from here. I live back here again. And being that my dad was a lot older than me, born in 1970, he saw a lot of changes in the city. He showed me, as an architect, he showed me older buildings that were abandoned, and he showed me the beauty in them. The stone carvings, the Corinthian columns, the Victorian architecture, just the different things, right? And it was, I saw the potential. And I always looked around, especially around Midtown and around Cass Quarter, that this could be amazing if we just, if those that are here would just invest in it and believe we can make this great again. So again, I sipped the Kool-Aid a long time ago, and I'm one of these diehard people that believes that there's opportunity for Detroiters to kind of write our own story and make something great of what was here, but also bring something new. And that is with the business, and the structures of the old, which we revitalize, but the new businesses that we can create.
This is the D. This is home. I was born in Detroit. I was raised in Highland Park, but I was born in Detroit. And to be from Detroit, it's just something about it. And I tell you that, I truly believe we have the potential and the resources to once again become one of the greatest cities, if not the greatest city in this country, if not one of the greatest in the entire world. And we have all of the talent and resources to do that.
Besides it being my home, besides me building a reputation here in music, Detroit, even when it was in a state before all of this so-called hope for the city now, I've always had hope for Detroit. Detroit is a place for visionaries. It's not a place you travel to that has everything together. It's perfect if you have a vision. And I have a vision. And this is perfect for what we do. And my personal mission statement is to teach, train, and transform boys before the world does. Where else to put me besides here?
And the plan was to go back to the East Coast or to the West Coast or somewhere warm to, have a career in engineering and science. But there's this little company called Ford that provided an opportunity that I couldn't resist. And then later on, you realize that I think the statistic is 1 out of every 10 engineering jobs in the country is here in the Southeast Michigan area. So it's a lot of engineers. So a lot of my peer group are here in the Detroit metropolitan area.
I came out of a large family. There were 10 children, 6 boys, 4 girls. Both my parents were from Mississippi, and I remember in the early mid-'60s especially, driving back and forth from Detroit to Mississippi, and I never understood why we always had chicken and pound cake in a shoebox under the front seat. And I did not know until I was much older that was a holdover from segregation and racial tension. And my parents did not want to deal with the hassle of trying to go through the tension associated with public accommodation. We were not always welcome in restaurants and rest stops. So I never understood that until I got older, but I did understand when we got to Mississippi every year when we would visit my parents, when we would visit my grandparents. My dad almost always would go into this spiritual zone. He would start telling us how it was. And I always remember he used to talk about having to walk 2 and 3 miles out into the country to a 1 or 2 room schoolhouse. and the white kids came by on school buses, freshly painted, sometimes air conditioned. I don't know if they had air conditioned, but freshly painted school buses. And sometimes the white kids would spit out of the window or throw trash out of the window on the black kids. And my dad used to talk about how they felt, how deplorable that experience was. So I remember at 7 and 9 and 10 and 12 thinking how unfair that was. And that if I ever had the opportunity to do something about that kind of inequity, then that would become my life work.
I was homeless at one point. I was 15. Well, another volunteer in the community said, "Hey, you can come live with me your last year high school." And hey, volunteerism been a part of my life. I used that and say, "Hey, who am I not to give back in the same way that was poured into me?"
My legacy would be defined by three things that I believe that the community would know me in my professional role. I have created a gay and lesbian institution located right in the city of Detroit. I think many will find that a significant event, a significant triumph, as it was told that gays and lesbians could not organize within the city limits. I believe that to be wrong, and I think this nonprofit proves that. The second thing I believe that people will remember me by my works is my Leadership Academy. Founded in 2012, we graduated 43 gay and lesbian, bi and trans young adults, ages 18 and 30. And many of those people are now entrepreneurs, they're spokespersons, they have worked in the democratic process of electing our next governor. They've also have asked citizens whether they believe is fairness in Michigan, as right now Michigan is not a protected state for people like me. Many of them do incredible things, and they're recognized now. 3 of my students have been recognized by Dr. Jill and Vice President Joe Biden, which I'm very proud of as emerging leaders. And so this Leadership Academy is the only one of its kind, which I'm very proud of. The last thing I believe people will remember me and what I've contributed to the movement would be Hotter Than July, which is a gay pride celebration here in Detroit, Michigan. Hotter Than July is a multi-day pride activity that starts from a Tuesday through a Sunday, which includes activities such as a candlelight vigil, boat ride, film festival, conference, a picnic, a Sunday brunch, and a Sunday worship service. This year, in 2015, Hotter Than July will be 20 years old. It's the second oldest pride celebration of its kind like this in the world. And it's right here in Detroit. And we started that in 1996. And again, people thought it couldn't be done.
So the thing I believe that would define my legacy is the number of leaders that I'm able to help develop. I think I've been able to accomplish a number of things in my short life. But I don't believe, longer after I'm gone, I don't believe any of it would make, a hill of beans if it ended with me. I think the skills, the talents, the knowledge and wisdom that, or any perceived knowledge and skills that have been given to me, I think it's only worthwhile if it's given away. So I believe that would be my legacy if I'm able to look down, hopefully, on what's going on and see the fruits of my labor.
Well, I think that my kids, I have a son and a daughter. Just by me being a good father and raising them, that's clearly going to be, the legacy that I'm leaving for the next generation. I hope that I'm doing a good job, and I think that they'll appreciate, as I've appreciated, the fact that my family was there, my parents were there for me, And so my wife and I are definitely focused on making sure that we raised two strong young people. From a professional standpoint, I like to make a difference in a community, no matter what community I'm in. And I've chosen the work of making sure that kids have access to educational opportunities that oftentimes they've been prevented from participating.